California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want for running president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has finally declared that his state's sprawling homeless encampments are unacceptable. The statement sent a wave of political whiplash across the country because for years he was the silent architect of the very chaos he now condemns. After turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and the mentally ill, his sudden change of heart has set off a firestorm. This isn't just a policy shift, it's a desperate, transparent pivot that has commentators like Gutfeld and Bill Maher turning him into political confetti, shredding his ego with sarcasm sharper than California's tax hikes. They didn't just roast him, they flamed him until his glossy speeches and empty promises were nothing but ash.
Then the Dems are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them put it out.
I see today the Trump administration, they talked about the fact that California had a rule that schools cannot be required to notify parents if their kids in school have changed their gender, their pronouns. That's the kind of thing, even though it doesn't affect a lot of people, that makes a lot of people go, well, you know what? That's the party without common sense. Now, if that's your state, how are you?
Well, I just disagree with that. I mean, the law was you would be fired. A teacher would be fired if a teacher did not report or snitch on a kid talking about their gender identity. I just think that was wrong. I think teachers should teach. I don't think they should be required to turn in kids. And by the way,
we're talking about their parents. How can you snitch? The idea of a snitch and a parent to me doesn't compute.
Well, I don't. But what is the job of a teacher? It's to teach. If Johnny's talking about some identity issue or some issue about liking someone of the same sex, is the teacher's job.
Gutfeld didn't just stroll into the studio. He charged in like a man who just found out California had installed a new tax on sarcasm. He immediately launched into what he called the Barbie Governor Chronicles, painting Newsom as a politician straight out of a Malibu playset, plastic charm included, but minus the assembly instructions for common sense. Gutfeld described Newsom as the first political figure to try turning an entire state into a luxury wine commercial. Under his watch, California became less about governance and more about vibe curation. Every time Newsom speaks, it feels like a TED Talk presented by a guy who just found out what Wi-Fi is. He's got all the hand gestures, the earnest tone, and the big words, but none of the substance. It's like someone uploaded an encyclopedia into a fortune cookie and gave it Botox.
Meanwhile, Newsom lurks outside the White House like a greedy relative in the parking lot of a hospice. Maybe he is the perfect replacement for Joe. Just like him, the corruption is baked right in. Denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans. Suddenly, they grow.
Gutfeld zeroed in on the staggering hypocrisy. Newsom was now pretending to be fed up with the tent cities, the rampant crime, and the urban decay. But he wasn't mad about the problems themselves. He was mad that everyone noticed. Gutfeld compared it to a criminal who robbed 25 banks and was only sorry he got caught on the 26th. This wasn't some spontaneous crisis. It was a man-made disaster, like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends. For years, Newsom didn't just ignore the problem. He enabled it because his progressive base was in a woke crouch, terrified of being called cruel. He let tens of billions of dollars get swallowed up by a maze of consultants, nonprofits, and bureaucrats who created poop maps instead of solutions. Now he's pretending to fix it, which Gutfeld bluntly described as like putting on a condom as you're leaving a wasteker house.
comment. He's an evil snake motherfucker. I don't know how to describe it. You see what he just did there, and Bill got it right. Somehow it's snitching if the parent finds out. If the teacher says, oh, your kid has been going by other names and changing pronouns and dressing up this way, you don't know about that as the parent. That's the snitch. It's the parent's job to raise the child.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends.
The firestorm truly erupted over a California rule that banned schools from notifying parents if their child changed their gender identity or pronouns on campus. The law stated a teacher could be fired for snitching on a kid to their own parents. Gutfeld was stunned. The idea that informing a parent about their own child is considered snitching revealed a chilling ideology that places the state between a parent and their child. He argued it's a parent's job to raise their child, and the school's interference was a fundamental betrayal. This single issue, he claimed, was the kind of thing that makes millions of ordinary people realize the modern Democratic Party has become the party without common sense. It was a declaration of war on the family unit, disguised as compassion.
They like the show, okay?
And the man who made it acts like he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's pure government grift, shoving you down a flight of stairs and then making you pay for the handrail. We've been lied to for years that homelessness is all about affordable housing. Fentanyl isn't the problem, it's that loan officer at the bank. Yet as we walk to work, we never saw families or kids, just men. So strung out on fentanyl, they look like they were playing Twister with.
This sudden pivot to sanity from Newsom wasn't a genuine change of heart, it was a performance. As Gutfeld put it, Newsom is putting on a political drag show. Seeing the White House on the horizon, he's trading in his progressive credentials for a new costume, the common sense centrist. Suddenly, he's just a soccer dad in khakis, pretending to be fed up with the very chaos he cultivated. It's all bull, a costume for a new audience of voters he thinks are idiots. Gutfeld sneered that Newsom lurks outside the White House like a greedy relative in the parking lot of a hospice, just waiting for his moment. But what happened next revealed he wasn't the only one who saw through the act.
See, Newsom wasn't just ignoring the problem, he enabled it because Dems were in a woke crouch, terrified of their loony base. But now that he's seeing the White House, he's got a brand new act, a common sense centrist, just a soccer dad in khakis, fed up with crime and chaos. It's all bull. A costume, a political drag show, and the kids this drag queen is reading to are the gold. It's like the wildfires. Gavin blames climate change when it was his corrupt bureaucracy. Since the Palisades fire, which destroyed 6,000 buildings, only 4 permits have been issued for rebuilding. Did climate change cause that? Hell no. So like the fires, Newsom let homelessness run wild. He allowed tens of billions of dollars to be swallowed up by a maze of consultants, nonprofits, and bureaucrats who created poop map.
The attacks weren't just coming from the right. Bill Maher, a liberal icon, walked in later that evening with that familiar face that said he just got back from a dinner party where someone dared to bring up Marxism between bites of kale. He began by saying Newsom was the physical embodiment of what liberals think competence looks like. But underneath that Ken doll veneer was a political mind powered by nothing more than green slogans and guilt trips. Maher said Gavin talks like someone who just returned from a soul-searching retreat but forgot to actually find a soul. He smelled like progress, but the scent wore off faster than you could say rolling blackouts. He wondered how a state with that much sunshine could somehow still manage to be in the dark, both literally and politically. Newsom's policies, Maher claimed, were the political version of cutting off your arm to stop a hangnail. Excessive, dramatic, and ultimately unhelpful.
I feel like the last couple of years you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, oh, this is a blue state and that's a red state. Yeah. And I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way,
Californians used to sell maps of celebrity homes, not landmines. Now, instead of sightseeing, tourists play hopscotch so their shoes don't get hepatitis. And when residents complain, they're called cruel. And now we're supposed to believe Gavin? Hell no. All the problems of the last decade were based on his and his party's lie.
Maher quipped that Newsom's greatest political achievement was convincing Californians that their misery was morally superior to comfort. You're not suffering, you're sacrificing. It was like living in a failed state with a fabulous filter. The most damning evidence was the Great California Exodus. Gutfeld joked that the only growth sector left in California was the U-Haul industry, and even they were running out of trucks heading east. Businesses were bailing, families were fleeing, and Gavin was still talking about equity like he was distributing coupons for enlightenment. He lectured farmers about water conservation while dumping millions into vanity projects. People were leaving California like it was a sinking cruise ship staffed entirely by bureaucrats. Gutfeld noted that California tourists used to look for maps of celebrity homes. Now they look for maps of landmines to avoid getting hepatitis on their shoes. This wasn't just incompetence, it was hypocrisy of the highest order. Gutfeld painted Newsom as the guy who told everyone to stay home during the pandemic, while he himself booked a private room at the French Laundry, one of the most exclusive restaurants in the world. He didn't just break his own rules, he pirouetted over them with the grace of a ballerina raised on hypocrisy and Pinot Noir. Meanwhile, Maher laughed at Newsom's presidential aspirations, saying the man has more ambition than results. He compared him to a contestant on a reality show who's convinced they're winning despite everyone in the audience screaming for them to be voted off. But how does he get away with it? Maher claimed Gavin had the media wrapped tighter than a pair of vegan yoga pants. Every time he stumbled, the press brought him a mat and told him it was just part of the journey. If Newsom tripped over a traffic cone, the media would report it as a bold new step in urban exploration. He mocked how Gavin managed to blame rising sea levels for high crime rates and traffic congestion. According to Gutfeld, crime was no longer illegal in California, it was just misunderstood. If someone stole your car, you weren't a victim, you were participating in a social experiment on economic frustration. In the end, both Gutfeld and Maher, from different ends of the political universe, arrived at the same brutal conclusion. Gavin Newsom is a symbol of a new kind of politics, elegantly disastrous. Gutfeld said his legacy would be a bronze statue of himself holding a reusable shopping bag while everything around him burned. Maher chimed in, saying Gavin is the love child of good intentions and terrible execution. He's a man so polished on the outside that he's completely hollow on the inside, like an avocado that costs $20 and still tastes like disappointment. He promises you the moon, delivers a glow stick, and then acts shocked when you're still in the dark. Bill laughed and said if Gavin ever became president, America would finally know what it feels like to be a San Francisco taxpayer, broke, confused, and strangely proud of it.